Well, I'll tell you what, Nick. I've got your name saved in my phone. It's Nick Stam. What's
A Stamatis.
Stamatis?
Yeah.
Stamatis. What nationality is that?
Greek.
Greek. Yeah, nice. My boss is Greek. I swear to God, over the last 10 years, everyone entering my life is Greek. Everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's been so cool. And to be honest, it's so prominent, especially with my boss and the Greeks that I work with. They love telling you, yeah, we invented astrology. We invented medicine. We invented this. I think, no, you didn't. I Google it. Yeah, came from Greek. Yeah, came from Greece. Came from Greece. Yeah, powerful pace. Hey, Greece.
Yeah, man. Like, obviously a lot of history there.
Yeah.
You know, I've been 3 times.
Yeah.
He can trace it back as, you know, what, 4,000 years, but some evidence suggests that it's even longer.
Yeah.
But to say that we've sort of like invented everything, I think that's a bit of a fast stretch, you know.
Yeah.
I think the Egyptians and some cultures in South America can probably, you know, say otherwise.
Yeah.
So, nah, man, like, yeah, Greece is definitely one of those, you know, cultures, I guess gave us a lot of things, particularly like if you think about philosophy, you think about certain types of mathematics, not all mathematics, but certain aspects of it, a lot of science, and to a degree, astrology and basically everything to do with the stars and stuff.
Yeah.
But every culture, and I'm really into this sort of stuff. So,
Yeah.
but every culture has given us something, man, because if you think about it, thousands and thousands of years ago, what we did, we didn't have many distractions like we do today. So we looked up to the stars. You know, when we looked up to the stars, we asked questions. And from those questions, you know, we had a lot of time to think and try to figure things out. So if you think about all the cultures that existed at that particular time, they're all doing the same thing. It's just that they all had different ways of expressing it in their art or in their hieroglyphics or in their writings, whatever you want to call it, right? And some of them built things.
Monuments.
Monuments,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
You know, you go to Egypt and you see these pyramids. And you're like, far out
Yeah,
these
bro.
things. How did they do that?
Honestly, I love
know?
anything archaeological that's been discovered, and I want to go visit Göbekli Tepe over in Turkey.
Yeah.
It's like the oldest that they've discovered with modern day acceptance. You know, how there's always, you know, your ancient, what do they call it? Oh shit, what's the word? So you got alternative. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word alternative.
Alternative history.
Yeah. So you got your alternative. People believe, you know, the pyramids. Like, I don't believe traditionally that it comes from 3,500 years ago. I believe it's like could be anywhere up to 350,000 years ago, realistically, you know. But then you've got modern day archaeologists agreeing that this discovery in Göbekli Tepe was 13,000 years ago. You know, it's like the oldest thing we've discovered, and they looked at the stars, bro. That's what they did. They looked at the stars. They wrote down the constellations and they drew the pictures, the parting, and it almost gives us a time frame of when they existed and almost why and how they did a lot of things as well, you know?
Yeah, and was it in that culture, particularly that culture, was it a post-apocalyptic culture?
Yeah. Well,
you know, did something exist before that?
Exactly.
You know, and they were coming, that culture, they were coming out of that post-apocalyptic sort of like, you know, people talk about that sort of stuff all the time, and we just don't know, man.
yeah. Well, the Younger Dryas impact era is what they call that from 13,000 years ago, which was when the top half of the world was basically still ice, you know, all of North America was all frozen and all this stuff. And then we don't know and we can't explain why it all melted and how people today, they believe that we had ancient civilizations before that. And then that's what this monument's almost drawing a picture of with Göbekli Tepe, you know, it's almost drawing a picture of these asteroidal impacts and these, because there's enough science, and believe me, I've talked about it on the podcast a million times. I'm sure you know a bit about it yourself.
I do
you
know
know
about it, yeah.
But yeah, it's so interesting, bro. It's so interesting. But to be honest, when you said that, like looking up at the stars and asking questions, it made me realize for the first time that it's like people actually got answers from doing that, which is the crazy thing. You know, they'd look at the stars and they'd ask these questions, and then just by asking the questions, they started to learn about the universe and the world around them, and then the plants and the medicines and the science, whatever it was back then, their version of science, you know. But like, there's actually Elon Musk talks about it as well. We're not asking the right questions. The answers are there. That if we can just think of the questions, then we'll be able to be better equipped, you know.
Yeah, you know, you're right, 100%. And I think one of the things that limits us today, and I say this so much, is the time. We are so distracted with so many different things. You know, we're distracted with obviously social media, with all types of media, and constantly working on the grind. And we have to, you know, it's just who we are at the moment, you know, in the human history. But if you think about it back then, how much time did they have?
Nothing but.
Yeah, how much time did they have to look up into the stars and wonder, what are those things flying through the air that, comets or whatever, shooting stars, right? When I was in Wadi Desert, I just happened to visit
Where's that?
Jordan.
Okay.
And it's it's an amazing, it's almost like Mars-like sort of like landscape, because the desert itself, the sand is like red, and it's got amazing rock formations, There's no artificial light, and I just happened to be like camping out one night. Well, we camped out one night with a Bedouin who are like they're nomads, and they invited us in. It was a small family, and they looked after us, man. They were feeding us goat milk and like just with their hands, a bit of bread and a bit of mincemeat and whatnot.
Wow.
And that night, I just remember like laying down and just seeing like this immense like universe, dude. Like this thing, like I couldn't believe how many stars are out there. And I'm sure you could probably see the same thing here if you go to the desert, right? But the amount of shooting stars I saw was like off its chops.
Oh wow.
Like it was zoom, zoom, just going
really?
bananas, right? And I was just sitting there, laying there, thinking, man, like this is crazy. I can only imagine these people had no artificial light. They had all natural light. They turn off the lights, and that's all they saw. So, and when we have like a lot of time to think about things, humans have the ability to come up with so many things. That's why we'll build things, create different philosophical ideas, science. But because we're so distracted these days, I think that we're limited to what we're actually able to do. When we have time to ourselves to actually create and be the best version of ourselves, we can't be that unless we're distracted. And I guess those people who do become like awesome musicians, or scientists, they've got that discipline where they're passionate and they really focus on their craft. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
And we all have that ability. We all have it. But it's just that we're distracted so much.
Yeah.
And we've got to find that. So we've got to hone that in sometimes.
Oh, man. To be honest, one thing I've been trying to practice lately is waking up in the morning, not checking my phone. Very, very hard to do. It is really hard to do.
Yeah, it is.
Like, I can't help it. Just like, I try and like pretend like I'm not, you know what I mean? Like I let my face unlock it, have a quick scroll of the notifications. If there's nothing too important, don't look at it, you know what I mean? Like, but I still have to check it. Just my brain tells me what if there's something important going on straight away. But then I'll actually try now and not listen to a podcast in the morning on the way to work. I do find myself always end up calling someone calls me, have a conversation. It is a bit of a distraction at the end of the day, but at least it's more beneficial than trying to entertain myself. And I use these terminologies, like educating myself or like, like growing. I try and listen to podcasts. I try not to listen to too much bullshit, you know. I try and listen to something about a scientist or an ideology or something. However, I'm listening to it to be distracted. I'm listening to it to be entertained. I'm not listening to it because I genuinely want to learn. I'm listening to it because I'm trying to ignore these boredom thoughts, that occur every single day that everyone experiences. And bro, I'm so addicted to technology at the moment, like social media. I'm really trying my best at the moment to stop scrolling, to stop wasting this time and actually be bored. It's something I've never done in my entire, I haven't been bored since I was probably 5. Like I've grown up with iPhones, I've grown up with PlayStations, I've grown up with all these things. And like, I don't know any other way to live than to constantly be putting something in as consumption constantly,
Yeah, man. So I was actually teaching this the other day to my year 10 class. We're looking at, of all things, suicide. And we're looking at like depression and anxiety rates at the moment, right? And an interesting fact for people like to know is that like anxiety sort of like went through the roof ever since about 2007.
Okay.
And if you think what sort of came into our lives around that time, it was pretty much...
The iPhone pretty much came out then, I think.
Social media. It was a big factor in it. And ever since then, like anxiety's just gone through the roof, all right? I mean, we know that depression's sort of always been there and abouts, but I think it's that constant wanting to know, which is great because I guess as human beings, we want to know things, right? We're curious beings, and that's how we learn. But when we have it in front of us all the time and what we're exposed to, what I'm exposed to compared to what a kid might be exposed to could be two different things.
Yeah. Oh, I reckon our For You pages will be so different.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, so like I mean, look, I don't really want to go into this unless you do, but yesterday, the other morning, I got up and I saw the first thing I saw on Instagram was the assassination of Charlie
Charlie,
Kirk.
oh, bro, I'll
All
go
right.
into that for sure.
Now,
Yeah.
yeah. So the first thing I saw was the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Man, that in itself and that murder of that female,
Yeah, oh,
all
yeah.
right, which I saw the day before, and then when I saw the murder of Charlie Kirk, the assassination, that set me off big time. It actually ruined my day.
Same here, bro.
And now
I feel ya.
I'm 45.
You don't look 45,
Yeah, thanks,
eh?
man. Thank you.
I
Yeah,
look like
thank you.
35, maybe. Yeah.
I was able to sort of like, okay, it's screwed my day up, but it didn't last very long. Now if you think about like a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old, right? They're scrolling through their dad's phone, through their whatever, YouTube, whatever, and they see something that they shouldn't see. How's that affecting these young people's brains? See, young people, like their brains aren't fully developed until they're like 25, fully developed.
Oh, bro, I'm
Okay.
26, almost 27.
Yeah.
Mine ain't even close to starting yet.
Yeah. And for a number of reasons, right? I mean, we've all like, drinking young, doing this young, whatever, right? But if you look at young people, what they're exposed to, and it's all like short, like reels. Poof, 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 poof. So it also affects their attention span. So they're not learning as well. So if you take that into account, we need to create a world or a space within our world where there is time for it because you can't escape it, but there's also you need to have time for yourself where you can sort of sit and be mindful with who you are and however that looks like. That could be going for a walk without listening to anything. Going for a bushwalk, which is probably the best thing you probably could do. All right. So it's just about being present with yourself without actually having to be on your phone or be on any device at any particular time, man. And if you allocate yourself 1 to 2 hours a day of that, man, that's pretty good.
That's a lot. I got to be honest, that's a lot. I read this book. The most recent book I finished was called Hyper Focus: How to Achieve More by Doing Less. I will not recommend it. It is a boring book, right? I just had to finish it because I started it. However, there was one part of the book in particular that I found to be very beneficial to learn, which was out of every study they've ever taken to find more productivity, because that's what the book was about, how to achieve more, A lot of it was very common sense stuff.
Yeah.
Turn off your notifications. Like, don't check your emails more than this. Like, this and that. The most beneficial part of this book was learning that out of every study ever taken place, the only thing that's ever been able to withhold time, not just momentary bursts of productivity, was practicing of meditation. To stop everything you're doing, turn off your brain, and actually just think, And to be honest, meditation's almost like trying to stop thinking. That's kind of the goal, That goes against anything I have been trying to learn in my self-development journey. My self-development journey has always been like, I need more. Let's go learn this, do that. Get in the car, learn something new. Get back home, try hard at this, It's like I've been just go for as long as I can remember. But to learn that to actually stop everything, just spend some time being still and just think about whatever it is that your brain wants to think about, actually makes you more productive as a person, puts you further along in your journey, helps you grow even further,
It does,
It's
man.
so surprising.
It does. I always ask young people at school, I go, what's more important, happiness or peace? And it's really interesting because some kids say happiness, but then you get quite a few who say peace. And I'm on the peace side. All right, I'm always on the peace side. And if you can find that peace and stillness and away from all these distractions, through some form of meditation, breath work, whatever that is, man, you're on the right trajectory. All right, you really are. It's something that we find it very hard to do because we're so distracted by everything that's going around us. There's so much artificial light around us. There's artificial light, LED lights. There's constantly flickering of our computer screens, our phones. You got all the light emitting from our phones. It's affecting our brain. All right. So you got, especially at nighttime, right? Especially at nighttime. So you got all this artificial lighting, all this artificial sort of environment that we're in. We need to sort of like take a pause, turn the lights off, switch your TV off, switch your phone off, and just spend even just an hour, man. It doesn't even have to be meditation. That's why I like going for bushwalks, man.
Yeah.
There's something about bushwalk. Well, Well, actually, scientifically, it's been scientifically proven anyway that like the green from the leaves and also the blue from the water and how it affects our brains. So like seeing blueness, right? You're going to the beach and you're looking at the water, all right? The effect that it has on your hippocampus and your amygdala is unbelievable. So your hippocampus is responsible for like memory, right? And also your ability to navigate, okay? Because that's what the memory does. So like if you're out in the bush, for example, all right, and you need to navigate, like you need to know where to go, and we would have used this like thousands of years ago, even hundreds of years ago,
Yeah.
you know, and some of our First Nations people still use it today, right? And their ability just to walk through, but we've sort of lost that a little bit, right? So you got the blue, and then you got the green, who actually does that also. It actually stimulates the hippocampus in order for us to navigate. So when we go out to these natural spaces, particularly like bushland or even waterways or beaches, the effects it actually has on our mental health is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's actually the perfect place to actually be present with yourself because you're in the most natural form that you can be in. Whereas even though like we're like all these buildings that we're around, even though we're part of nature still, and this house is actually on nature on land, right? And we are. And it's something we have to remember that as well. But there's something artificial about how we live.
Yeah.
All right. So it's important that we go back out there into that sort of like natural environment because we do get a lot of benefits from it, man. And if you can be mindful in that environment, take yourself away from your house and get into those natural spaces, man, it's so powerful. I see it all the time, every time we go for bushwalks, man.
Yeah, that's mad. I definitely want to get into the bushwalking side of things. I know it's a big part of what you're currently doing with Kaizen. Am I saying it right?
Kaizen Path.
Kaizen Path. Yeah, definitely so. But yeah, bro, I couldn't agree with you anymore. Like, to be honest, lately my biggest. To be honest, in my head, I'm even using it as like a little bit of a victory. When I play my podcast to fall asleep, I'll turn my laptop around, so I haven't got. You know what I mean? I can't see it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that light lately. I've just been thinking like, oh, this can't be good to go to sleep. You know what I mean? Like even listening to it, I know it's probably not the best thing to do, but like slowly, I think if we all just try and be 1% of 1% better every single day and try and get back to a way of it's almost like we've learned how to become these technological beings over the past 25 years, you know, and to be honest, people have been grown up becoming these, people are AI today, you know what I mean? People are AI, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a bad thing that we've learned it, but if we can try and not unlearn it, but also add addition to that, go back into nature, incorporate these things like healthy activities, walking around, getting sunlight, vitamin D in the morning, you know,
100%.
being a part of nature. I think the balance between them might be something that we need to try and learn how to do. As you said as well, find your time. We can't escape it, but also find the time as well to do what we were pretty much doing for hundreds of thousands of years at the same time, you know? So I'm definitely with you on that path. I need more balance, you know? I'm actually not going to cut out technology. I'm not going to cut out social media. I'm going to learn how to incorporate it into my natural life as well, you know?
Yeah,
Things
man.
like that.
Yeah, it's all about management, man. It's all about just being mindful of when not to use it. And just having a balance there, man. You know, I could be the first one, man. I mean, we can go into COVID, you know, and during COVID, man, it was. I think that was probably the worst part of my life. I mean, and not in terms of the way it affected me, but more so a lot of the mixed messages and the shit that was coming out of social media at that time. It sent me, man. It was making me so angry. You know, I was seeing so many different messages coming through. You know, I wasn't either pro or pro-vax. I wasn't even like anti-vax. You know, I was sort of stuck in the middle type thing. But I was listening
just
to
unsure.
Yeah, and then obviously people being like pressured to like, you know, take the jab, and even if you didn't want to take it, you know. But then spending so much time on social media and seeing how the effect it actually had on my mental health was unbelievable, man. And I could see myself getting angrier, more angrier, and I was. And the thing is, I was sort of like, I live near bushland, so I was going down the bush every morning and doing my meditation and doing what I do for me. And it was working. It was working. But then as soon as I got back home, get back into the grind, jump online, do my work, and then all of a sudden, you know, have a break, jump on my phone again.
Yeah,
I was like, and I was going through,
I know.
and everybody was revving me up. So, man, the effects of social media, man, on mental health is crazy. And like I said, man, we as humans, we need to learn how to
balance it a lot better. Definitely so, bro. Definitely so. Well, I want to transition the conversation a little bit. I probably will definitely circle back to a lot of things that we did touch on, definitely. But I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Aaron did put us in contact with each other, wasn't it?
Aaron.
Aaron. So, yeah, how did you and Aaron first come into contact? Because Aaron, and I'll give him a shout out too. I really appreciate. He's one of the first ever people that I invited over to the podcast who I'd met just by being online. Just by seeing him in contact with reels and things popping up. Man, he's got a good message. I really like what he's doing, you know?
Yeah, man.
So I invited him on. So I could not be more appreciative of Mr. Aaron Huey for coming and blessing my channel with that. But how did you first come in contact with him?
I'll give mention to Dom from Hills Business Guide. He runs an Instagram page trying to get all the Hills business together. And I spoke to Dom, and Dom knew what I was doing. And Dom goes to me, "Have you got in contact with Aaron? He's a men's health advocate. He talks to a lot of tradies and tries to get him into the right frame of mind, because." And I was like, "Oh no, I haven't contacted. I didn't even know anything about him." And then I messaged him once, and nothing really happened. It was kind of like, just a message. And then I said, "No, man, I really need to meet this guy." So eventually we just got together, man, sat down, we had some breakfast, and we got talking, and we just hit it off straight away, mate. And Aaron as a human being has a huge heart, man. He's gone through quite a lot, for himself, and we'll talk about COVID before, and that sort of sent him a bit, but he's a real down to earth guy who really believes in what he does, and rightly so. He works in an industry that sort of like ignores the current rate of how mental health and suicide is affecting the tradies, which is dominated mostly by males. All right, and an industry that ignores that sort of thing is an industry that's going to fail people. And I think Aaron's a bright light for that industry because he brings it to the forefront. He tries to coach these boys and the boys and men, because there's different ages on this work, and the bosses. You guys need to support your lads. This whole every 2 days like a tradie commits suicide. That's a stat that we don't want to see.
No, it's actually incomprehensible in a way, isn't it?
Oh, it's a failure. It's an absolute failure for the industry. I've been a tradie, man. I've conquered it with my dad. I know what it's like. It's not easy. All right. And but a lot of these guys, man, they get caught up in this sort of like environment that's just it's not a supportive environment, man. They're drinking after work. They're getting into the gambling. All right. They're getting on the coke. All right. They're getting on the coke. It's not a safe space where they can talk about their problems. Sometimes they're being judged. All right, they're doing all this dumb shit. All right, half the time they don't want to go home, so they're going to pubs after work, like we're just doing everything under the sun, and then they're doing it all over again the next day. And for organizations and companies and corporations, whatever you want to call them, who are overseeing all these workers, for them not to even acknowledge that that's happening is disgusting. And sometimes the people above in these corporations are actually partaking in some of this, like, for example, illicit drugs activity, like cocaine and whatever else. They, I know for a fact they are. So you've got, okay, I get it. Well, corporations and all these massive companies are all about making money. I get it. They couldn't give two shits. But at the end of the day, man, you got to take care of your people. If you don't take care of them, it's going to fall back on you somehow.
And what people don't understand is, well, these big corporations, right? Some of the biggest corporations in the world, let's just like use Google for an example, right? We've all seen videos of the Google headquarters, you know what I mean? Look how well their people are being looked after. They have slides to go from top level to bottom level. They've got free cafes. They've got sleeping pods and meditation areas and safe to speak zones and things like this, It's like the biggest corporations are leading the example of why really looking after each and every individual person will benefit the company to make more, because there is no bigger search engine than Google, you know what I mean? And you don't have to get to the level of Google. It's a very, to be honest, I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm saying when I say that, because I know that people like Steve Jobs were really hard bosses and things like this, but then, it's almost like you get to a certain point, but then you have to start accepting, right, in order for this to grow further than which I'm willing to make it grow by being a hard ass, I have to learn to care for the people that are underneath me as well, And yeah, I think you're definitely right, bro. What Aaron is doing is something that I don't see anyone else doing, trying to be a voice for mental health in the construction industry. We definitely need that. And now being in the construction industry myself, there is no talking about your problems. To be
No.
honest, you come to work to leave your problems at home, and then you go home to leave your problems at work. You don't invite both worlds into each other. You know, it's escapism to then go escape again. You know, that's all it is.
Well, and that what you just said there is pretty much on the money, man. And because one thing I've learned, it was a long time ago when I was traveling in Amazon. One of the elders there, I'll call him an elder. He basically said, in life, if your home life is good and your work life isn't good, at least you can go back to good. But if your home life is bad and your work life is bad, all right, where are you going?
You're insane.
You're
That's where you're
lost,
going.
man. And, I can tell you about, someone very close to me who that's what was happening. He was coming home from work and jumping in his truck and parking his car his truck in the car park at Coles there, just sitting in it. And I used to drive past and see him. I go, what the hell is he doing in there? But he would just sit in his truck because he didn't want to go home.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've actually lived that life myself.
Yeah.
I've had periods in my life where I've definitely been in toxic relationships, and it was my own fault where I chose to keep these relationships going. But everyone would leave work, and I'd just stay. I'd order pizza, and I'd just be by myself, and I just chose to do that because I know that I didn't want to go back home. I wasn't willing to just deal with these arguments and all these things that do come from being in a toxic relationship. You don't feel rewarded for being home. You feel punished for going back home. And being a lad in my, it was all my own decision. I chose to be in these relationships. I'm not going to blame the world around me. I'm not even going to blame the girl. I probably had a massive part to play in this toxic relationship, but I can definitely empathize in regards to especially people who have now gotten kids and marriage and commitments and mortgages and all these things. Like, I was just dealing with a young man's mentality. I guarantee if I went down that road for even further and I got myself into more commitments and responsibilities, it could have been catastrophic at the end of the day,
man. Yeah. And how does a young person, including myself, because we've all gone through it. I mean, hopefully we learn from our mistakes, but a lot of guys don't. And how do you navigate through that? Who's helping you? Who's showing you the way? Who's with you on that boat, steering you through those rough waters, man? If you're doing it on your own, you're being led astray, man. You're going to be going everywhere. You don't know where to go. So I guess Aaron's job, to that degree, trying to get the guys on the straight and narrow through his talks, is great. And I guess we sort of align because what I'm trying to achieve is basically the same thing. I want Aaron to jump on board, and he is. He has jumped on board because I see the type of person he is. And hopefully together, man, like with Kaizen Path and what he does, we can do something so much better.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it, bro. Kaizen Path. How did the entire journey of Kaizen Path start in the first place, and how long ago was that?
Yeah, so about 2 years ago. Well, I can.
And just so you know, I'm going to cut you off every now and then through your story. Yeah. I tend to do it a lot, so I just want to try and just say I'm not trying to be rude, but if there is a certain point where I'm just a bit more curious about, I'm definitely going to just cut you off and go into it. So yeah,
it's all right.
I'll just say that.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. So probably about 2016, someone very close to me had a really bad mental breakdown, male, and I witnessed 3 of them, but the first one was very traumatic, man. It was something that I never want to experience again in my life. It sent me hard. When you see your loved one in that in that position, it's very hard to unsee, and I can still see it to this day. When I was in the hospital with him, at that time at Cumberland Hospital there at Westmead. Not a very nice place, man.
Yeah, but, hospitals, you don't want to be in them.
No, but we can talk about that in a moment, about those sort of settings. But when I saw him, I remember seeing a student walk through, like a student that I actually taught, walking through the door.
Well,
and he was with his father. And he was a young Filipino boy I taught at Quakers Hill High School. And when he saw me, he smiled and waved at me. And that sent me for 6. I actually started crying, When I walked into the actual main area where they keep all the people who are struggling mentally, the majority of people in there were males. There were some females, but the majority of them were males. I was like, oh, wow, this is interesting. And being a PhD teacher, I've been teaching it for 20 plus years. It never really crossed my mind that, mental health, obviously it affects everybody, but I didn't realize the suicide rates were so high for men. And then 2 years ago, 2 friends of mine who didn't know each other both did the worst thing possible and they killed themselves. One was a real good family friend of ours. I would say I wouldn't call him a friend. I would call him family, just not blood. And the other guy was one of the members from Rouse Hill Rams soccer team in the Hills area. A guy who had sort of grown up in the Winston Hills area who was struggling with mental health issues and post his granddaughter being born, not long after he killed himself. Now, when that happened, I was like, nah, man, this is too much. This is wrong. And then when I delved into more of the statistics, I started realizing that it is a big problem, man. All right, and I felt like I needed to do something. So Sean Law, who was a co-founder, who's no longer part of Kaizen Path, but he's still part of our brotherhood. Him and I sort of started. We started going down to the park and doing some sprints and doing some breath work, and then I invited another bloke down, and then it just grew from there. And then we added ice baths, and the ice baths were the clincher.
Yeah.
Because it's everyone. Breath work is something that not everyone's into, but you can pretty much like fake your way through it. Running, yeah, you get tired, you stop, you go, whatever. But the ice, you can't escape. Like you jump in, you're like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it kind of grew. It kind of grew from there. It sort of like organically grew, and as people started talking about us and what we do, and the brotherhood sort of grew. And what I realised after a while was that a lot of these guys were getting a lot of benefits from our Sunday sessions. We had guys opening up to us at the cafes after our sessions, talking about how their wife, for example, has been going through cancer and they're crying in front of us. So that in itself was like a message to me that whatever we're doing is working on a Sunday morning. All right, whatever we're doing is working. Now, I'm not, and the group that we work with, we're not crisis management. All right, we're about prevention, and that's something that is solely missing within our communities. We're waiting for crisis to hit before doing anything about it. We need to sort of look at what community preventative action that we can implement within our communities to stop crisis. Our system in itself, within New South Wales, is not working. More psychologists and psychiatrists are leaving the profession within hospitals because they can't deal with it. Because they're getting people coming in who are at crisis, and you can't manage these people. Okay? Some of them are violent. They attack nurses, they attack staff. So nobody wants to work in there. So we need to come up with a way to sort of prevent people from getting to that point. Now, for thousands of years, we've had it, man. We've got churches. On a Sunday morning, people go to church and, they connect to the community through that aspect of thing. And it's such a powerful thing, man. Church, whether it's church, whether it's any type of faith, whatever you do, man, whatever you believe in, whatever you do, it's such a powerful thing. But some people haven't got that.
Oh, bro, like, of course, I think the idea of preventative, what's the word? Preventative, is so necessary because, like, anyone who has experienced loss in their life, they understand that if all that person had to do before making that tragic choice of committing suicide, if all they did was speak to me, everyone can bear that guilt. Everyone knows that. Not everyone knows what that feels like. Like, luckily, some people have not gone through that. Personally, I've gone through it, where my best mate committed suicide, and I know that all he had to do was just speak to me. Call me. Tell me what's going on. Tell me what you're planning on doing. You know what I mean? Like, let's just have some conversations leading up to it about why you're feeling like shit, because as you said, as the lads are opening up in these Sunday mornings, talking about what's going wrong, the troubles, the wife's going through cancer. It might just be like a kid's getting in a lot of trouble at school. Like, just by having these conversations, it actually helps, which is what people don't understand. That is the prevention. The prevention is just speaking. And the problem is, like, as you said, like, people aren't doing that, and people haven't got that community anymore like we used to have for thousands of years, Church being a great example for it. I've noticed other versions of it, like gyms, they're a very good place for people to learn brotherhood and community. Yeah. I attend NA meetings on Tuesdays. Tuesdays the day I go, but like that room full of people, it's designed for people to talk about what's going on in their life, and then the aspect of doing that just makes your life better, But 1 in 10 people have no one, and that's the statistic that I've heard that came out earlier this year, that has been proven and studied across, I think it might have been in America. I don't know if it was worldwide, but I think whatever America's doing, we're pretty much right behind them realistically, anyway. But 1 in 10 people have no one is a crazy, crazy statistic. That's not a single family member they can reach to. That's not a coworker that they feel like connected with. That's not a friend that understands them. That's no one.
Yeah.
Like I feel so lucky. I couldn't tell you how many people I feel comfortable enough telling them what's been going wrong.
Yeah.
Like I really do feel grateful for that. And to know that some people don't have anyone like that, that is why the suicide rates are so high. That is why, because we talked about it before. They'd rather sit in their car at Coles than go home and tell their wife why they're feeling like shit,
Yeah.
And like it's mind blowing, bro. It's what you're doing. It's cool to see that it's already working,
Yeah. So interesting what you said. We talk. A lot of people always say that guys don't like opening up and being vulnerable, and it's actually something else that I was teaching my kids the other day because I think they needed to listen to this because we were talking about suicide at the time, and guys show their vulnerability differently to girls, and it's something that you have to pick up. And it's important that our partners, for example, if you're in a relationship, it's important that your partner can see what's going on. And it could be just you being quiet. It could be you being angry. It could be you not spending time at home. And if your partner can see these things, it's up to them in a way to sort of like come up to you and go, hey, babe, is everything okay? Because I've noticed A, B, C, D. Now, that may allow you to open up. Now, if the male doesn't open up and talk about their problems then and there with their partner, at least their partner's aware, because they might be aware of what they're doing to upset their partner, and that's really important. But then it's also important that the males have like a safe space where they can go and talk about things, okay? Because a lot of males don't mind opening up to other males. They don't. It's when it's with the females they find it hard because they don't want to be vulnerable and seem to be like this weak person. Because there is that sort of masculinity about males where we try to be the hard man, and it doesn't always work. It backfires in your face, all right? But that connection that we can have with males can help with those problems. And look, if you're vulnerable with your mates, and then you can probably learn how to be vulnerable with your missus. If your mates tell you, hey mate, maybe you need to open up to your missus about this. Going back, the isolation thing is 100%. If you're isolated, it's one of the biggest factors for suicide is isolation. All right. If you have a look at the statistics, there's three subgroups: First Nations people, LGBTQ, all right, and remote people living in remote areas. Okay. Now, people living in remote areas, you think about how isolated they are. Okay, they've got no one to speak to, and when you look at health as being a holistic model, all right, you think about socialization, you think about spiritual, you think about physical well-being and all the rest of them, emotional, whatever, right? Socialization is one of the biggest factors to health. We are social beings. We're not meant to be by ourselves. There are hermits out there that can do it, all right?
Yeah, I know.
But their relationship is with a higher power, with God. So they're actually socializing with God and using that as their strength. Okay, whereas the average dude out there who hasn't got that connection, who are they connecting with? And if you look at all the blue zones around the world, you have a look at Sardinia, you have a look at Ikaria in Greece, you have a look at parts of California, Northwest, where people were living over 100 years old. It's all got to do with socialization, man.
Oh, it's crazy.
And physical activity. It's because they're like-minded, they're talking, and they're happy, and they're at peace.
There was this Netflix documentary that came out. I can't remember what it was called. It was only a short series. It was probably like 5 episodes, maybe even that. And it was talking about what makes people live longer, and it showed all these different countries across all these different continents. And first it was like, what do these people eat? Well, these people are very, very healthy foods. These people are staying away from things like, sugars and grains and all these things and small portions. And then these people have this much sunlight. These people have this much sleep. There was all these different variations, but there wasn't enough truth lying over to prove that this is the thing, because these people eat this, but then these people eat this. Yeah. the one thing that actually made people live longer is community. The more community you have, the longer you live. But it's not just a longer life; it's actually a longevity of a healthy life too. You know, doesn't mean your last 10 years are hospital bound, like a lot of people might be suffering from. Some people spend the last 15 years of their life, struggling. But the people who live the most holistic approach to life, up until the very, very end, are the people that had the community, people that had their routines and people, and they knew about their neighbors, and they knew about their people in their communities down to their dogs' names and things like that. They lived the longest, bro. So I get you what you're saying. Some people have a crazy ability to be able to, and to be honest, that's not the exception to the rule. They're the exceptions that make the rule, because everything has to have outliers. People are born with 10 fingers, 10 toes. Because people are born with 9 doesn't mean that that's not true. That's why it's true. The exception makes the rule.
It's true.
But 99.99% of people need community.
Connection. And that's what Kaizen Path is pretty much all about, man. It's community, connection. And through those bonds, man, we support one another. We create our own community, and we get people from all ages. And so that's, man, we're in the process now of becoming non-for-profit. So we're becoming a charity. And it's just to basically make it more accessible and better. Sunday morning is not easy. You got people within the hills area, for example, in the Bible Belt, who want to go to church on a Sunday morning with their family. And so be it, go for it, man, because that's what helps you and supports you, I
do my church on a Sunday night. It's so much easier.
Yeah,
so much easier.
But the other thing is, but we need to make it accessible to everyone. So I think that's where Aaron comes into a degree, because we want to start some workshops where guys can learn more about themselves, and they can talk about themselves. And so that's probably the next evolution, and then retreats and and the bushwalks that we do, and it's what it's all about, man. It's just about bringing the boys together to connect.
The bushwalks would be a really, really fulfilling thing. Getting a bunch of lads together and go for a bushwalk. Like I've only ever done probably, honestly, I wouldn't have done more than 10 in my entire life, I reckon, just walking through the bush. Like, not walking through the bush. Like, I'm talking like planning to go for this waterfall or go and doing this hike or something like that. Like, I've only done a few of them, but every time I do, I'm like, fuck, it's a good day, bro. I feel great, See a little snake running under my legs, That's such a good day. But yeah, bro, it's absolutely beautiful. I know another lad over in Dubbo, and they did a similar thing. I think someone might have even took their own life. I think that might have been why it started. And it's a shame that these are the things that create these communities, but at the same time, it is more of like a beautiful way of looking at what has been occurred. It's obviously tragedy what occurs, but it's nice to sometimes be able to turn that into a bit of hope and light and faith, And what they're doing over in Dubbo is every Sunday they do the same thing in the mornings. They actually get a bunch of lads together. They just have coffee and they just talk about what's going on in their lives. It's a safe space. I went on a podcast. The episode came out in our time this morning. By the time this episode comes out a few weeks ago, and I sat down on this lad's podcast, Mario Beckish runs this awesome channel, Life the Battlefield. He's a fantastic lad. He's over there in the hills, and we're talking about the fact that. He was wondering why some people love Thailand. He went to Thailand with a bunch of the other boys I know, and he's like, why do people come here? This lad, he's 51, I think. And then he asked everyone, why do you come here? Why come here? And the most common answer that everyone got was, I don't feel judged. I feel free. I can live my life here, And isn't that what everyone's after? That's what these safe spaces and these communities are. Like, it's just, as you said, most lads feel more comfortable speaking to other lads. And me personally, I can use a great example of, there's been 2 really prominent times in my life where my interaction with my partner and the vulnerability that I've shown has not been taken well. Like, it has actually caused like a lot of almost trauma in a way. I'm not going to pretend like a pity party or whatever, but it is traumatic in a way where it's like, I don't feel comfortable doing that anymore, But when it comes to the lads, bro, like, I'm happy to tell you what's going on, Like, listen to me, please, bro, please, But yeah, it's because we don't want to feel judged, It's a shame that we do sometimes feel that. I'm sure women might take that sometimes from men. They might feel judged in certain aspects as well. We are all to play in this monstrous chaos, but it's way less judgmental, and there is way less anxiety once you do start talking to the lads, because the lads get it. We get how we think, you know. We are all feeling the same feelings.
We are.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because when we go for bushwalks, one of the things that, like, you hear a lot of the conversations happen when you listen to the conversations. It's not that I'm eavesdropping, but like I might have a conversation with 2 or 3 blokes along the way, right? And a lot of it's got to do with like their relationships, you know. And I was one of those people. I used to talk about my relationship. So everyone's going through something, man. And you're very surprised that most people are going through the same sort of thing, you know. And I guess that's what it's all about, man. It's just about being safe, being in a safe space where you can open up and go from there.
It's crazy how, like, when you're going through a tough time, like, you assume that no one gets it.
Yeah,
You're like,
man.
no one gets me. Like, no one else. You look around, you think the world around me doesn't feel what I feel. Like, I'm suffering, everyone else is laughing, having a good time, and like, there's a million different examples I could play off, but like, I actually heard it from Will Smith. Will Smith said the 2 most important things in my life are reading and running.
Yeah.
Because when you run, you learn to overcome that voice in your head that tells you to stop, and you get to be your own voice and tell you to keep going. But when you read, you actually learn the fact that everyone else has not only gone through what you're going through, but they've written it down of how they got out of it, you know, which is the complete opposite feeling you get, feeling like shit. When you feel like shit, you just think to yourself, like, no one else's relationship is strugglesome. No one else hates their job. No one else struggles to wake up out of bed in the morning, you know, but everyone does.
On Instagram, they're not struggling, dude. There's a saying in the sort of sociology sort of circle. It's called phantom homes. You know, all beautiful homes on the outside, but toxic on the inside, man.
Yeah.
You know, and Instagram's pretty much that to a degree. You know, you see all these films all posing, and I can tell you, man, it's not all pretty.
Nah.
Behind the scenes.
Well, I actually am aware of myself being a victim, being a part to play in that. You know, like, I post up the highlights of my day, and I'm aware that what I portray online is a life that other people might think, wow, he's having fun, he's doing all these cool things, and I'm grateful for the life I live. I choose to live a life that I'm fulfilled from. However, I'm not posting up the tiresome moments, the struggles, the financial instabilities. I'm not posting up all these things. It's like, brother, I'm also struggling. I'm just not showing it, you know? Like, I'll do that on my one, you know? I'll talk to my people about that. And I know when I watch other people's stories and things like this, I think to myself, like, man, look at how great this guy's life is. Oh, I'm envious of this, you know? He's struggling probably more. You know, he's got more good things, which comes with more problems, you know? Like, it is crazy, but yeah, we're all a part to play in that. We're all a part to play.
And it's important, like, as one of the leaders of Kaizen Path, I think I do that naturally. I tell the boys when I'm struggling. They know. They know what's happening in my life, because like any leader has to sort of lead by example, and I try to do that with the boys. You know, oh, this happened, or this happened. You know, this is happening at work, or this is happening at home, whatever it may be. Obviously, don't tell like everybody all at once. Sometimes it might be 1 or 2 blokes from the group, right? It could be really personal, but yeah, I think just living by example, man, or leading by example is really important. You know, you need to be able to show your true colours in some degree, because the world out there, man, especially today, it can be how do you be your authentic self in an inauthentic sort of environment, man, that we're living in right now. Because all that people want to see is like, oh, look at this, look, you know, look at that guy. He goes to the gym, he's looking shredded, but you don't know what he's doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, you don't even know how hard it is for that guy to stick to that diet. Like,
to train.
He's putting in effort.
You don't know anything. Yeah. But and then all the matter, you get some people who automatically will go, oh, he's on steroids.
Yeah.
And he might just be, but then like, at the same time, he may not be.
Yeah.
He
and
just
even
might
if he is on steroids, he's putting in more work than you. You know, you can't just take the magic potion.
Don't judge. So don't judge. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. It is crazy. It is crazy. But at the same time, like, I do understand the importance to lead by example, you know. I always say the difference between a ruler and a leader is a ruler sits on his throne and orders.
Yeah.
But a leader is at the front of the army, and he's marching with his men, you know.
That's right.
Yeah, it's definitely cool, bro. I definitely am interested. I'd love to come be a part of it, you know.
We'd love to have you, man.
Yeah, it'd be really, really cool. You do it every single Sunday, something you do every single week?
So every Sunday, Kellyville Memorial Park, and then once a month we try to get ourselves out to Bronte for a different type of environment, and we're trying to get the eastern suburbs crowd on board.
Yeah.
Which is really good. I think I really like going out to the beach, mate. I'm a beach person. And I just find the beach for me as an environment is one of the most relaxing, sort of environments for me.
Yeah.
So I want the guys to experience that as a group. So we do that, and we put on a good feed once a month for the boys. We actually we got M&A butchers out at Wilberforce, and they're happy to sponsor us with some meat on the day,
Wow.
which is great.
That is great.
No, they're an awesome butcher, mate. So look, I know I'm probably giving them a plug, but
Shout out to them.
Yeah, M&A
And
butchery.
it's really good. To be honest, it's a good butcher. I've been there many times.
Yeah. Shout out to them, man. They're awesome. So they're happy to support us. And look, Bronte, like once a month, and then we try to do the bushwalks every 2 months, man. And then Sundays, Kellyville Memorial Park.
Nice. Where do you try and go for these bushwalks, like Blue Mountain ways, or what are you doing?
We've done 2 Blue Mountains. The recent one was at Colo Heights, which was
Colo Heights.
Yeah.
Bro, I've got some memories of Colo Heights. That's a crazy place. That's a crazy place, bro.
Yeah.
I might just this is so off topic, but I need to tell this story.
Right.
It's a crazy story, right? And every time I hear Colo Heights, it reminds me of this. I think this place might have been Upper Colo. I think that's actually the name of that space, not Colo Heights, but it's near there. But I didn't know this. I'm sorry if this might sound judgmental to anyone listening, but that part of New South Wales is actually used to be very inbred. Like a lot of the people that are there were like inbred people, right? And I know people, I know them personally, and they're the generations that came from the inbred families, right? And everyone's pretty crazy. Not everyone that's from up there is crazy, but this family I knew was crazy. I went to this big party they had over there, and like at the end of the night, someone was making people really like upset. I won't say what he did, but he did a lot of really irresponsible, selfish things, right?
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning thinking, oh man, I need to get out of here. There's no reception. Like I'm not feeling very good. I'm feeling unsafe. This is not a good place. People are running around with bow and arrows and all these things. And I'm thinking to myself like, this is crazy. What are these people doing? Turns out they were hunting this person. That's what they were doing. And I was like, please, Lord, get me out of here. And I just prayed for it, and somehow like some reception came my way and I got out of there. But yeah, whenever I hear Colo Heights, I'm like, I'm not going back there.
Yeah, nah.
It was crazy, bro.
No, it's not like that. Hopefully, it's not like Lord of the Flies where we're going to get down to the bottom and start killing each other.
It was crazy. Colo Heights is a bit different. It's a bit further from where I was.
Yeah. So Colo Heights was a good one, mate. We again M&A Butcher. They supplied the meats, and trekking down to like the bottom there, the Colo River. We couldn't go for a swim because obviously it was raining too much, mate. So you had a lot of runoff, so I didn't bother. But we got down there, we did a bit of breath work, and then we trekked to the top and back. But it was the trek to the back up, which is the difficult one. And I'm a big believer in like sort of that perseverance in actually pushing yourself through discomfort. Very similar to what you said earlier on about Will Smith. I think it's so important, man, in terms of like growth, all right? Because you think about like fixed mindsets and growth mindsets, right? When we're able to accomplish something that's hard, there's something sparkles in our brain that we can do anything, and realizing that when you work hard, you can accomplish anything you want. And if you fail, you just go again until you get it, right?
Yeah.
So doing a lot of bushwalks and stuff, it can be quite hard depending on the track, right? Especially the ascend. Walking up. So yeah, no man, like these bushwalks are great, and at the end, mate, we just put on a feast for the boys,
Man.
a few souvlakia, like I'll make it Greek as possible.
Yeah,
you just can't beat it anyway.
Gyros, homemade gyros, bro, on the spot.
Souvlaki, I do, man. I've got the pita bread in the car for tomorrow. But we do souvlaki and a few sausages, and whatnot. And man, it's quite a powerful sort of thing that we do there. And it's well worth it, mate. So
you know what I really look for in this world? Like I look for any environment where people are trying to better themselves. Like it is a rare thing to find because most people are on a journey of rat race, which I'm a part of.
Yeah,
I'm working hard for the man. I'm fucking slaving away. I'm giving my life to someone else. Like constantly, it's what we do. And especially as men, we find that we need to give our lives now to the people that we are protecting. Our families, our kids, our friends, even our mums, like our sisters, like our little brothers, anyone. Like we actually give a lot as people, which is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But at the same time, we also need to learn how to better ourselves too. And any room I can walk in that I feel like I'm a part of now, people wanting to better themselves, like as I mentioned earlier, church is a really good place. Everyone's there because they're trying to gain a better connection with a higher power, and the best way to do that is to be a better person. I find that the NA rooms I'm a part of, like everyone's there to try and overcome addictions and to try and help each other in this journey, but it's really a selfish journey of wanting to be a better person. And then I find that the gym is another perfect place for that. Everyone is in that room to grow, to get fitter, to get stronger, to persevere, to even if they're there to escape, like they're still there to become better. And it sounds like these groups that you're running, everyone's there to try and be a better person, you know, to not just grow, but to stop themselves from falling and dying at the same time, you know. And that's a room that I need to become a part of, bro. I need to be exposed to that kind of lifestyle.
Well, it's also accountability. You know, we why aren't you coming down on Sunday? What's happening? Look, some guys don't come down because they just can't. They just want to be comfortable in their beds during winter. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's about accountability, man. It's about, you know, picking ourselves up in the morning and going down there, whether we like it or not. You know, sometimes I don't want to go, and I'm bleeding if I do.
Yeah.
Right?
That's an important thing to say, bro. It really is.
Yeah, man. No, it definitely is, man. I roll out of bed sometimes, I'm like, fuck, do I have to go there this morning? But post it, man. I'm always like, hey, that was fucking awesome. You know, we're getting all
you never
hyped
regret
up.
it, do you?
Never regret it.
Yeah, I never regret going to the gym, bro. But I'm telling you, every day I think as if I'm going today. Let's just not go today, you know? But it's like, it's weird because I don't regret going. But you know what's weird? In life, it's almost like the things that we are excited to go and do, we regret doing. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell you how many times I've been excited to go participate in this stupid activity, you know? Oh, man, I shouldn't have done that. I was on the phone this morning with one of my lads. I fucking love him to death. His name's Reese. He's a champion. In my head, he's a superhero, right?
Yeah.
And he just went and did like 2.5 months over in Asia, just with some of his mates, partying, going around Asia. And he goes to me, he's like, bro, I gotta be honest, I drunk every day. He's like, I regret drinking every day. But it's like, I know he was excited to do that, you know? But then, yeah, polar opposite. The things that we know we're going to be grateful for doing, we're never like, yeah, can't wait to get over there and do it.
It's a bit. It is. That's as true as it gets, man.
Yeah, it's so strange.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's very strange, and I think you pinpointed basically what waking up, not wanting to do something, and having the positive outcomes at the end of it, man.
Yeah.
And that's what we do, man.
Yeah, it's cool. What about being a teacher, bro? It's something I'm very, very curious about, you know? You said you've been doing that. Did you say 20 years?
Yeah, 20 plus years, yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Is that something you always wanted to do growing up?
Yeah, I think when I was in year 11, and I remember like speaking to one of my PE teachers, and he, Mark Romano, if he's out there listening.
Shout out to him.
We're having a chat, and I said to him, mate, yeah, is PE teaching any good? And he's like, I mean, look what I'm doing, mate. I'm taking you boys for football, like for soccer. And I'm there going, yeah, it's a pretty good gig, eh? On a Wednesday afternoon, just coaching us lads. And I thought, this is mad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I went and did it, and it took me overseas. So, like, I was able to go and on a working holiday visa to the UK, work over there for 2 years. And,
wow. How old were you when you did that?
23,
yep.
And that's where I met my wife.
Wow.
Yeah, and I travelled, man. While I was over there, I was doing a working holiday. I went around, went to Jordan, Egypt. That's when I went to Jordan, all that.
Wow.
So yeah, went to Greece, and I went to a number of places, man. I saw a number of different ancient sites, and I loved it. So, would I say that it was a good part of my life? I'd say yeah, because I met my missus, but I think I was still very much not on the path that I probably should have been on at that age. But we all are, right?
Yeah. If you've got it figured out at 23, 25.
Oh, mate, you're flying.
I'm running away from you.
Yeah, you're flying. Yeah. So, yeah, and then coming back, I was sort of like 50-50 whether I wanted to go back into teaching or not. So I kind of started working with Dad in concreting, and that was tough, man. Like, I was just grueling, and talking about, like, mental strength, man, in 35-degree heat, you know, pouring concrete.
Yeah.
Fucking hard, man. But it was nice as well because I was working with my cousins and sometimes my uncles and whatnot. So I like that aspect of it. But anyway, I went back into teaching, and teaching, man, look, teaching's a great job. It's not for everybody. People always say to me, how do you work with kids? Well, mate, you know, you were a kid once upon a time, work it out.
Yeah.
You know, like if you can't draw on your sort of like your childhood and remember what it was like being a student, or remember what it was like being a kid, then man, yeah, it's not for you. So I'm able to go into a classroom and sort of connect with my kids and build rapport. But there's that other aspect of teaching where I guess, like, you know, like with any job, which isn't great, and that's why I think a lot of teachers are sort of leaving the profession. because the amount of like admin for certain subject areas, like for example, like English teachers, man, they mark so much. Whereas PE teachers, we don't mark nearly as much as them, but they're getting paid the same money as me. How does that work?
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a bit of an imbalance in like sort of workload to a degree, and then there's obviously like some parents, some schools, some parents can be, some kids can be a little bit like my shit don't stick, you can't touch me type scenario, So the parents sort of back them up to the T, They're entitled little shits, I should say. But and it's very different, man. Like I've worked in some really bad schools. Currently, I'm working in a really good school. The bad schools that I have worked in, man, which I won't mention, but because it's not right. But some of those schools, man, some of the kids coming out into these schools are on struggle street. And the thing is, our schooling system currently just hasn't adapted in a way that is going to be able to sort of like support these students. We're still teaching kids the same sort of things and ways. You know what I mean? Like, as a kid, I don't give a shit about Shakespeare. But when I was a kid, if you put Tupac lyrics in front of me, man, I would have been all over it.
Yeah, bro.
Right?
Fuck.
You know what I mean?
Unbelievable.
So, like, and it's kind of like the schooling system hasn't adapted. So we need to sort of look at demographics, because I'll tell you something interesting about results, right? So people talk about results. They're like a big thing in New South Wales. We're not doing as good as the rest of the world. Well, actually, we are. If you put a circle around metropolitan Sydney and got just those results, mate, we're up there in the world, way up there. But once you go outside of metropolitan Sydney, results go down, and that's why they're offering like 20 grand bloody pay rise if you go work out the country for 3 years. So there's something desperately wrong with our system that we're unable to adapt to the demographics and the schools that we're teaching in, and schools aren't really thinking outside the square, or the education system isn't really thinking outside the square. It's all tick a box. And how can you work in a school where that you're trying to keep the kids inside the classroom, not jumping out windows, all right? And then telling me that you need to prove on literacy and numeracy results. Yeah. Dude, I'm trying to keep them in their chairs.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. If I also think back to being a youngin', right? I honestly do not remember ever writing a thing down. Like, I don't remember ever writing anything that we were told to do. I did not do it. I had a girlfriend for pretty much every single year of school. Every time a new girl came around, I thought, yep, beautiful, how good's that? She can do my homework. She can do my assessments. She can do my assignments. It was the best. And to be honest, there was definitely some of the bad schools that I went to where I was one of those kids that was trying to climb out the window, you know what I mean? Yeah. And the idea of to be honest, as an adult now reflecting on it for the first time, thinking that these teachers were being judged on the fact that I was being irresponsible and my grades weren't high enough and they were not doing their job by helping me improve in my academics, that's not their fault. No. I was not listening, bro. You know what I mean? No. To this day, my own boss, who I love, and I worked for 10 years for this guy, if he tells me what to do, I say no. I mean, I'm not doing it. I just hate being told what to do, you know? Yeah. It's I've never even thought about that, but yeah, the teachers must have a way difficult job than I ever expected them to have, you know? Yeah. But being a teacher, do you ever find that you see yourself sometimes in these kids? You do understand, you're like, wow, I know what this kid's kind of doing and why he's doing it. Do you feel that?
Yeah, and I think it's really important. One of the when you think about, one of the most important things is know your students, right? And it's not just know their academic results; it's also know them. When you get kids coming to you, mate, and you look at their behaviours and you realise they've got no dad. Sometimes you get these refugee kids who have seen their fathers get blown to pieces in Afghanistan. Crazy, and they were like 7 or something, and they saw it all. Oh. You know what I mean? So you think about these kids and their mindsets and why they muck up. You kind of have to sort of pull yourself away a little bit and know that kid in their life at this present time, okay, they're not doing great because of the trauma they've been through, right? And that's what I mean by our schooling system, even though it tries to be equitable, where opportunities for everybody, the same opportunities. It's not really like that, man, because it's too hard. Our class sizes are too big. You got 30 kids, and they're expecting us to create these little differentiation programs for each and every kid. You can only do so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, when I do see these kids who muck up, I do. They're the ones that I sort of connect with the most to a degree, because they're the ones that I guess I know that they probably need a positive role model in their life, and I guess that's what's made me the person that I am today in terms of like leading Kaizen Path. That's if it wasn't for teaching, I wouldn't probably be able to have this ability to lead men. All right, because I've seen the impact that I've had on young people to this day. Like I still get ex students every now and again messaging me. I had one student who called me last year on the phone, and he called me up and he goes, "Hey, Stamatis." This is an Instagram call, by the way. He goes, "Hey, Stamatis." I go, "Hey, how's it going?" It's Liam. I won't say his last name. He goes,
Yeah,
"Liam."
yeah.
I go, "How's it going, Liam? What's happened, mate?" He goes, "Sir, I want to talk to you about something." I go, "Don't call me sir. You call me Nick." He goes, "All right." I go, "What's up?" He goes, "I've been going through like depression." I said, "Oh, yeah, that's no good, Liam. You know, like, tell me more about it." He started talking to me. He's getting help and all that. And he goes, does meditation and breath work and all that stuff really work? Because I've been seeing you do it on Kaizen Path. And I said, man, look, it does work, but you need to sort of like, it's like anything. It's like the first time you ever do a push-up, you can only do 2 or 3, you know? So you might be able to only sit there for 1 minute. But if you do it like every day and you add like an extra 10 seconds, you do it for 10 seconds, 1 minute 10, 1 minute 20, 1 minute 30, 1 minute 40. Before you know it, man, you do it for 10 minutes. All right? And when he understood that, he kind of said, "Oh, good." I haven't heard from him since. But there's all those moments where kids come back and into your life somehow, you know, as students. And yeah, and I love that. I love that aspect of it. I love the fact that, you know, I have impacted kids' lives, hopefully for the better. There have been moments that haven't always turned out positive. I'll be honest with you. Like I've taught students where I've put all my time in the world into them, man, and the school has it as well, and some of them have ended up in jail. You know, it doesn't always work out, and that's what I mean by like the whole system is kind of failing. But I don't know whether it's like teaching in general or it's what's happening within our sort of like communities. You know, is the government or are our communities failing the people that live within them? You know, the struggles that families are having, and are they able to sort of like grow their kids, you know, in a way where, you know, their kids can grow up to be adults and just give back to the community in a positive way. And I don't actually think that's happening in some communities.
I don't think it is either. I think, in fact, I know it's not. You know, a lot of people that I can relate to, especially a lot of people I have on the podcast, a lot of people that I have in my personal life, they actually went through like juvenile schools, and they went through like boys' homes, and they went through all these things because school was just a world that would not make any sense for them to be a part of. Like
Yeah, man.
some of the people like that I know, and to be honest, I lived a very fortunate lifestyle growing up. You know, I have 2 amazing parents who did everything they could to try and put me through an education system, and we never had money at all. My parents were straight up like, no, we ain't got no money. You know, that's how I live my life. So I was kind of taught to be outside and build friendships outside and grow. And like we didn't have technologies or soft drinks or all these things. And it's like, so, but I still was very fortunate. Some other people I know, they lived it way rougher, way harder. You know, they had parents in and out of jail. They had all these older brothers that were like criminals. They had like addiction ran through people's families, like all these things. And what people really need, especially young people, which is why I got very fortunate as I grew older and I started to, I was never an easy student by any stretch of the imagination. And as I grew older, I definitely became a hard employee and a hard apprentice to manage. But I always had people I could relate to that I could use as an example, like, oh, I kind of get this person and he's doing the right thing. He's on a good path. I want to be like that guy. A lot of people, especially young people, they don't have a positive role model, as you said. But then what's worse than that, they also don't have anyone relatable either, you know? And sometimes, especially if I was to go back to school, I think PE teacher is a really good one because I kind of get the PE teacher. It's usually a guy, he's fun, he's active.
Yeah.
I remember having PE teachers in some of my public schools. We'd be playing sport and he'd be saying, "Oh, what the fuck is that? Like, hurry up, you idiot," like swearing and shit. And we're like, what? And I see other teachers walk past going like, man, he shouldn't be talking to the kids like that, you know what I mean? But like, they were the teachers that when, man, what was this lad's name? I don't even remember who he was because he wasn't my PE teacher. He was another class's PE teacher, but he would help us all out. And after swearing and being involved with us at my public school I was at, he'd just walk past and say, hey, bro, if you got anything going on, just talk to me about it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And he would relate to people like, and that's someone that like I'll always be using as an example in my mind, like a shooting star to aim towards because that's who I had as I was an apprentice. When I was going through TAFE and I was just fucking ruining myself career-wise, lifestyle-wise, health-wise, all these things, like I always had a tradesman that might have been, you know, an easy example people can relate to is like tattoos. Someone with tattoos, someone who kind of like spoke with a bit more of like a slang or a bit more culture or a bit more relatability. Someone who's not just like pen pushing, suit and tie, collared wearing, goody two shoes kind of guy knocking on my door saying, you know, Jesus, you know, not that kind of guy, you know, someone that I can relate to, someone who's active, fun, someone who's a little bit rebellious, you know. When that person spoke to me and told me things like, hey, you know, it's actually cool to ask for help. You know, it's actually like, if you're sick, you go to the doctor. Well, when you're feeling sad, speak to a professional. Like, it's the same thing. That made me think to myself, like, it is cool. You know what I mean? Like, these are normal things to do. And that's what a lot of young people are missing. They're missing that relatability. So I think if anything, what we need is we need more programs, kind of like bringing someone who people can relate to. If you have a bunch of kids that are, you know, obviously in gangs and violence and crime, bring someone who might be just outside of that world, you know, someone who's not necessarily a criminal. That's not what I'm trying to say. Or not even someone who's an ex-criminal, but someone who kids can look at and be like, you know, who's a really good example of someone who, a really great example would be someone like Spanian.
I was just about to say his name. I was like,
yeah, great minds think alike.
Yeah.
I know that Spanian has his own thoughts on it. He's not comfortable doing that kind of stuff. It's not his journey, but someone like him, someone who's a rapper, someone who's like a TV personality, like these kind of people, like that's who the young people need. They need people like that because unfortunately not everyone has a good role model, a good father, a good older brother. You know, a lot of people don't have that. So
yeah, it's really 100%. My wife, she works for Mission Australia. She's a program manager. Mission Australia is she does a lot of outreach stuff. She's actually quite high up in managing, like for example, homelessness within the urban area of Sydney, right?
Wow.
So Camperdown and Surrey Hills, and their job, and we like her job before she became program manager, but even now it's still quite a big job because she's managing like everyone else, right? But the social workers that are going out there trying to be those people that you're talking about are doing that job on the ground, man. And in some of these communities, dude, it is so hard, man. It is so hard for some of these people and families to break out of this cycle of just whatever they're into, man. And she tells you, man, I mean, you know, homelessness is a big problem in the city, in general, you know, in Australia, something that we don't really talk about too much. And she had something like 4 people pass away recently in 2 months, you know. So these people, these social workers are going out there trying to do that job on the ground, trying to support these communities, trying to help these people. You're right. They need to put money towards, or the government needs to fund a lot of these sort of programs to sort of get these kids, these young people, in like an environment that's going to basically enhance them to grow. Look at Kid Leroy, for example, right? He grew up in Redfern, right? He just happened to go to one of those music sort of like youth
PCYC,
whatever it is, and he learned his craft there, right? And look at him now.
Yeah,
he's out of there.
Another great example is 1-4, which has been the biggest thing to come out of Western Sydney culture ever. Like that's the internet. It's not as big as Kid Leroy, but as a culture, that was the biggest thing. They came out of the youth centre in Penrith. Like they invited them down, some of the lads, and says, "Hey, you want to work on your music? Please come to our studio." And they've done amazing. Like, you know what I mean?
Sorry to interrupt, but Puri was telling me she needs someone to do a podcast because they want to do like they want to teach like homeless kids how to podcast.
Yeah,
the skills, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm not saying that's something like something that you would do, but it's something that someone could do for these kids.
Yeah.
And this is what we're talking about.
Yeah,
music programs, podcast programs, could be anything.
Yeah, bro. When I was going to church for the first time, like my experience with, no one in my family's ever been religious or anything like that, but I dibbled my toes in it at like 13, 14. Experienced it and then came back to it as an adult. And now it's something that I'm really prominent in, trying to build that relationship with God. But I think at like 13, 14, we had like what was called RDG. So you'd have like youth groups kind of thing for different suburbs, and you'd have like a leader who'd be like early 20s or something like that, and he'd look after us kids. man, some of the maddest times in my life were being a part of these RDG groups because we do shit like we know this person's like not home, they're on holidays. We jump their fence, swim in their pool, jump out, and then they'd kind of teach us a little bit about what it means to be a better person, like be a Christian, all this stuff.
Yeah,
it's like,
beautiful.
it was an oxymoron in a little bit of a sense. Like sometimes the things we were doing were rebellious and were irresponsible, but it did get us all the familiarity with like we are all people. We are all wanting to do the same things, but we can still try and do a good thing as well, live a better life, but still also be curious, be rebellious, be experimental, still do these things. And people sometimes feel like, especially being younger people, you have to choose one life or the other. You have to cut out everyone and stop doing what you think is fun. And it is fun to, not promoting it, but it is fun to spray paint and stuff like that when you're kids and like, you know what I mean? And there's actually really cool programs now. And I know a lot of people who have worked in legal walls and they teach kids how to paint and turn that into a career. And I know people have gone through those programs and they have become painters through things like that, and like they're the things we're missing, bro. They're the things we're missing.
I think an important point to mention here, and I will focus a little bit on boys in general, because I think a lot of our problems do come from males. All right, if you look at all the crime rates and stuff, most of our juvenile justice centres are full of boys. There are some girls, but majority are boys, because we're the ones that sort of take the risk and do the dumb shit, right?
Yeah.
And one common denominator that I've figured out, that I've sort of worked out, is that in the days gone by, mate, we boys had to go through some initiation into manhood, and there's nothing that's initiating kids into manhood these days.
Wow, that's a good point.
Because what we're currently doing with the young boys is that, like, oh, yeah, mate, when you you're 16, you can have a drink now. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter if the legal age is 18, even younger than me, 14. I was drinking at 14 at one stage, right? All right, no worries. All right, 18, okay, what's next? Oh, yeah, we'll just take some drugs. Yeah, they'll get us. Oh, let's have a 80th birthday party. Let's go out. Oh, 21st is coming. I'm a man now. I'm a man. All right, let's go to the pub. Let's go sit around, have a drink and party, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, life hits you, it gets hard, and you're thinking, fuck, what do I have to do to make money now? Then you see young guys doing dumb shit to try to make money. You get other guys who actually grind away and they somehow make it out, and they build businesses and they start making money, and again, you get the others who become criminals. So in every culture around the world that's gone by, and still to this day, there has been some form of initiation into manhood. Or you look at all the tribes. You look at First Nations tribes. You have a look at tribes in Africa. You'll have Native Americans. There's always some form of initiation into manhood, and we're just not doing that.
That is so accurate. I cannot believe how accurate that is. I'm going to be thinking about that for a very long time. Like, our initiation from boys to men is drugs and alcohol.
Well, it's not even there.
Yeah, that's what our own perception of becoming an adult male means. Like being at the pub, gambling now, being legally allowed to enter these poker rooms, going out, getting your first bags, like doing all these things. Like I remember those feelings. That is what made me feel like I'm growing up.
And you belong. Yeah.
Wow, that is so crazy.
Yeah. So I think we need to work out, and I guess, look, there are some guys out there, groups out there doing that work. I would love to do that work.
I would love to definitely.
I would love to do that work with youth, getting them out of their comfort zone and giving them a bit of initiation. And that could be going for a bushwalk, a tough one, an overnight, 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights, letting them get into their heads a bit, and then coming out the other end. Being Greek, I always think about the Spartans. They would get these young boys like to fight, amongst themselves, and they'll send them out into the wilderness, and obviously they get them to do dumb shit like kill the slaves and stuff as kids, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is insane, eh? There always has to be that thing, eh?
But there was that initiation there, in some Aboriginal cultures, in First Nations cultures, they might do a bit of cutting, they'll do certain things. Other cultures might give them like some sort of like drink that boys have to drink, and they let them go. A lot of First Nations do walkabout. Actually, they just give you a bit of water and off you go into the outback or into the wilderness and try to work your way back. So I think that's a really big thing. And you got kids who are going to school. You go kindergarten, then you get into your the whole primary to year 6, and all of a sudden you're in year 7. And what happens? You get into year 12 and you're thinking, oh, look at these little year 7s. But what they don't realise is they're all year 7, and they're just going through the same process, and all of a sudden they think they're a man because they've got a beard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they actually haven't like thought about like the bigger picture because they haven't gone through that initiation. And we need to have leaders. We need to have leaders within our communities that can show these boys, like you said, the way through that whole boys to men. What a boy looks like and what a man looks like. And I'm not talking about all that sort of like that grey sort of smoke and mirrors what a man is like, because there's all that out there now, and I don't want to go into that. But we're not talking about that. I'm not talking about toxic masculinity, which is a term they like to use a lot out there in the media world right now. No, I'm not talking about that either. I'm talking about what it means to be a good man, a man that protects their family, okay, a man that loves, that can be vulnerable, but also a man that can stand up for what he believes in, okay, and is passionate. You know, that's what we need. You know, good, honest, hardworking men. That just transition from this boy who still wants their mummy. You know, who even as a man to a degree.
Yeah.
You know, and I fall into that category. So don't get me wrong. Because I'm a mum, I'm coming over for dinner. You know?
Yeah.
It's a Monday night. I'm so tired, man. You know, can I come over for dinner? I'm still there sometimes, but you know, but that's family.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's really important that we have those men in our communities. I think for First Nations people, I definitely think they're elders and I guess they're the people within their communities could probably do a pretty good job at sort of doing that sort of stuff. I think they need to go back to doing that sort of stuff. I don't know if they do enough of it. I have met plenty of Aboriginal elders, particularly Uncle Greg, rest in peace. I know he passed away about a month ago. But, you know, speaking to him and understanding his thoughts around that sort of stuff was really important. And I guess they were trying to get those First Nations kids into that sort of environment. You know, but then we got other groups within our communities that I guess are just really lost, man. Really lost.
Yeah, it is a shame, bro. And to be honest, like a lot of that does lead to this statistic that we were talking about before, you know, this suicide rate of men, this anxiety building up into things that we had this today, you know, and of course, I know that obviously girls and women, they go through their own struggles and tribulations, but like as a lad, I just don't know how to relate and I haven't been through that myself, you know, so we're obviously just speaking about the men in our conversation.
Yeah.
And a lot of that tragedy can almost be avoided if we had some better prevention, you know. It can be avoided, which is what the important thing about this conversation is, eh? It's trying to find out ways to stop these statistics from becoming statistics, you know, because they're way too high. All of them are way too high, you know.
14.1% of 15 to 24-year-olds in that bracket, the biggest health concern is suicide in males.
Wow.
14.1%.
Wow. That is enormous.
And that's, yeah, if you look at that statistic itself. Now, it varies in terms of like, you know, when they look at these statistics, they look at subgroups. They don't just look at, men in general. No, they look, what type of boy, what type of man, like were they? And I know we're all men, but obviously we come from different cultures, right? So again, LGBTQ, First Nations, people that are living in certain different communities, tradies, etc., etc. So they look at all that sort of stuff, you know, and yeah, it's something that I guess in this day and age, I think it's actually going to get worse before it gets better. I predict, and I know this prediction is going to come true because not only do I hear it on podcasts, but I also when I teach it, like when I look at the changes that are occurring currently in the world when it comes to, like, for example, technology and AI. AI is going to take over a lot of our jobs. All right, there's going to be people out there who are accountants and finances, and they're working with computers all the time, and you know, marketing and graphic designers. They're all going to be out of the job. You know, how are we going to fill that void when people are struggling and they can't feed their families because they've got no job, because someone, instead of using them, they go into some computer AI program and it does everything for them. They just upload their pay slips, they upload their whatever, and it does all the accounting for them. Off they go.
Yeah.
And they just press a button. Accountants, no more. You're 40 years old, you're 30 years old, you've been doing accounting all your life, that's all you know. Then all of a sudden AI comes in and you've got nothing to do, you've got to relearn something. How's a 50-year-old going to do that?
Yeah.
So I predict that in the next 5 years, particularly just around 2030 and even just before that, I think there's going to be a massive shift. I think that shift is going to cause a lot of chaos, man. And I think mental health is going to be one of those things. So if we can, as a community and as a country, we got to think of ways that we can prevent that from happening. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to everybody, because it doesn't always work like that. But they have to put something in place. They have to.
Well, one thing that I find very interesting, and I'm going to kind of circle back in a moment, is like, I thought that society itself is becoming more adaptive to a open and honest conversation of things like mental health and things like men having these communities. And you see a big trend of it, especially online at the moment, like warriors programs and things like even breathwork and things like these. These are very expansive niches and windows, right? And I thought for a while that we are becoming a bit more adaptive as a society to these open and honest conversations. However, I'm starting to think that we're actually not. And I'm starting to think that's only because I've entered a new way of thinking and living, that my algorithm, which is the crazy thing about life, like I know we have an algorithm like our phone, but like life has one too. Like if you are looking for yellow cars playing Spotto, there is so many more yellow cars. But as opposed if you're not playing Spotto, there's barely any of them, right?
Yeah.
The algorithm of life is, once you do start to have these conversations, you find that other people are too. And people and it's like, I don't really think we are opening up that much of a society anymore. I think I'm actually entering the communities of people that were there in the small niche windows that they were already there. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It is. I think I've been questioned about what I do. Okay, I've had friends tell friends, for example, things like, "Oh, what problems do men have that women are?" Blah 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 blah. And I don't really bother with that sort of stuff, because I guess they don't fully understand. They don't fully understand what I've gone through. So there is definitely a large contingent of people who are like that. You get other people in the academic sort of area who don't frown upon men's work, but they question sort of like maybe some of the things that we are trying to do or teach, like in the men's scape. Not so much what I do. I guess I try to really stick to like sort of research back sort of stuff. But there is a lot of men's groups out there which I think are still doing a good job. Like you mentioned about the whole warrior thing. I love that sort of stuff, and I'm way into that sort of stuff. But at the same time, you'll have academics who don't like that stuff at all. They don't believe in that. Because when it comes to masculinity, a lot of these academics are looking at what it means to be masculine. They're looking at like different versions of masculinity. They're not looking at the traditional version of masculinity, what we've all grown up to believe. All right. So they're looking more along those sort of lines. I understand both sides. I really do. But I also understand that in life, you need the warriors, okay, and you need the riders. And that's just the way it is.
Well, there's the famous quote, you'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And that is the thing that is that passage that we need to start making men more accustomed to as they grow older, like you have to have this fierce, aggressive side. Like you said, stand up for what you believe in. You have to be able to be physically capable. You have to be able to defend the people that are in your life, whether it be through gym training or martial arts, or whether it be through, putting yourself through hardship, like working hard for 12 hours a day. All these things create strong men, and that is what we still need. But you have to be able to take that strong man and have him plant flowers. You have to have him be present in the moment. He has to be smelling the roses. He has to be one and be present in the world around him, not just straight up grinding and savagery and killing and all this stuff, you know what I mean? Like, to be a true man, it's not just being someone who is open up, oh, this is what's going wrong in my life. That isn't actually what being a man is. A man is the tough guy who is now with everyone else going like, it's actually pretty hard out there, you know what I mean? Like, well, that's a man.
It's about being tough, but then also being soft at the same time. It's that whole yin and yang. It's that whole yin and yang of life, bro. So it's that balance. And I've got a tattoo on my left shoulder. It's a portrait of Hercules, and underneath it there's a Greek word called Andreia, and basically that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Okay, but being a man isn't about this egotistical sort of like, I'm at a pub, I'm a tough motherfucker, like no one's gonna fuck with me type scenario.
Yeah.
No, that's not what a man's. Or that's ego. That's you, man. Yeah. That's what's happening up here. No, it's about being tough when tough times are ahead, but then also being soft when you need to be around your family, your wife, that your community, all those sort of things, and all of the above. It's about sticking up for yourself and your values.
It's like resilient, eh? That might be the closest word that's entering
resilience.
my mind when it comes to the definition of what being a man is.
Man,
being resilient.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's something that I guess a lot of people probably struggle to work with. I had this interesting thought not too long ago. I actually brought this up on a Sunday morning, talking about how men fear other men. It's really fascinating. And the only reason why I thought about it was because, like, going for walks and stuff, like in the community or just whatever, when a man approaches me, it's not that I fear him, but I sort of size up, like just waiting.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's every lad.
Yeah. And it's really interesting, the psychology around that, because when a girl walks past me, I don't feel that at all. I'm kind of like, ooh, but I don't actually do that because I'm married. But anyway.
In the past.
But you know what I mean.
Years ago.
But and why do we fear each other as men? What is it about other men that we fear? And I think it's something like psychologically that men have to get over, because, like, you look at the male ego, right? And you look at us, some guys in the gym who are like really bravado, like they don't talk to anyone. They're like, the toughest guy in here. Where sometimes the guys that can sort of like put you on the floor in 2 seconds are the most humble, beautiful people that I've ever met.
Yeah.
All right. And there's something to that. There's something about, like, guys or men, like, being at a pub and thinking there's some form of cowboy, being like a real tough guy and showing that persona to everybody. So automatically, people, if I don't know you, I automatically get sort of a negative vibe off you, not knowing who you are. You could be the nicest guy ever, but I don't know that. So automatically, I'm gonna fear you, and it's normal, right? It's that sort of, like, it's what we're built in to do. We've just got to start thinking. Our amygdala starts firing, and we start sort of being a little bit not fearful, but that's what fear is all about, right?
Yeah.
It's about, like, just predicting that something could happen.
Yeah,
based on
it's
someone
not even a
else's
negative thing. Like fear, like the hero and the coward feel the same feeling. That's fear, but the hero runs towards the burning building. The coward runs away from it. Like both experience fear. So even to have that fear, like, this guy's an intimidating guy. He might have me for size or whatever it might be.
Or looks.
The fear doesn't even necessarily mean, like, I need to run away from them. That fear that might kick over in your head means I need to run towards them. I need to be there ready for this guy when he comes at me, like,
for no reason.
For no reason. Yeah, that's just crazy.
And it's crazy, hey, because, like, you get these, like, elite sort of, like, army officers or SEALs or whatever you want to call them, and they get these guys who are big and brute, look tough and they cry like little babies. One of our really good family friends, Professor Giorgio Ravulo, he's a professor in sociology at Sydney University. He's a really interesting character. One of the things about him is that he works with the NRL, and he works with a lot of the NRL players, and sitting down with some of these NRL players. Now, NRL players, man, they're like, when it comes to, like, brute force, strength, everything that, like, you could probably think about someone sort of like a man sort of wanting to be is them. Because, I mean, when they take that hit up, man, they're running into a brick fucking wall, right? They're tough motherfuckers. I've got a lot of respect for rugby league players, all right? But on the flip side, there's something else that's going on deeper within them. So they come across as being like this real tough guys. But when you speak to George, he never mentions names. He's never ever mentioned a name to me. But when you talk to him, he talks about some of the things that that come up. You'll be surprised that sometimes he has these grown, hard-ass men, hardest men in league, mind you, crying.
Wow.
Do you know? And I think on a footy field, you show this persona of, like, again, like in public, like, you're tough, but deep down you're hurting. And we need to, like, and going back, what we need to do is try to pull that out of guys. And we need guys to sort of, like, go to the gym, go to these, like, wherever you're going, and feel like you're part of the same thing, man. You're going through the same struggles. So not be scared of each other. Don't be scared of each other. Fuck all this, like, oh, I'm a tough guy. Or that guy that where was it, at Mead Filler, who knocked out that guy, the Sparky. And killed him. You know?
I think that was actually at the Edda.
Edamoga, sorry.
Edamoga. Yeah, I know the guy that died, yeah.
A lot of people did. For what reason? And this is what I'm talking about.
It was like a 19-year-old lad hit him as well. Like, and to be honest, like, it came off the back burner of a silly little argument. Like, it was insane. It was just insane. Yeah.
You know, so I've got this thing, yeah, men fear men, you know, men fear men in a number of ways, and we need to sort of like move away from that. We need to move away from that mentality, that egoism, you know, that all that. I don't know how it's going to happen because it's something, I guess it's something that is above a lot of us, but it's something that we need to sort of like really focus on in terms of like what I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can only control my boys. We had this one incident where this guy come down, Paul. Shout out to Paul because Paul's a legend. He's going to listen to this after, I guarantee you. Paul's a legend. When Paul first came down, I tell him this all the time. When he first came down, it was like $15 for the ice that we're supplying for the lads the first time. Now all the lads bring their own ice, right? And they just, we bring the ice for them. They just give us $10 for 3 bags. And we don't make money. The local bottler in Kellyville makes money. We don't make any of the money they do.
Yeah.
So, which is a nice gesture for them, even though it's a bottler or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But when he first came down, man, he flicked me $2, and I was like, "What the fuck is $2?" I said, "I'll just let it go, whatever." Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Paul gets out there, and we're doing like a wrestling activity because I had my mate Frank was there running like a jiu-jitsu thing on the grass, and Paul was getting straight into it. And I think, who the fuck, this guy's gonna like knock out someone. Anyway, my mate Aki has him in a bit of a headlock, and he flicks his head up and cuts my mate Aki's like lip, like fucking mate Aki had a hole in his lip, right? Anyway, that was the first session with Paul, and I looked at Sean, my mate, and I said, "Sean, dude, like this guy, like, what are we doing? Like, we're opening up a can of worms here because like some of these guys, we don't know who's coming down here, man." And you know, we're going back to that ego thing. We're thinking, Jesus, you know, we could get like the wrong people coming down. And he goes, "Yeah, I think, you know, we probably need to do a bit of screening and all that," which we do now. We do a little bit of screening. Anyway, cut long story short, this poor guy ended up being our number one member.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that initial not knowing him that sort of automatically we judged him based on just our initial experience with him. But now if I say to Paul, "Hey, Paul, on a Sunday, I'm not going to be there, man. Can you run it?" No worries.
Yeah.
And he's been our biggest success story. We're talking about someone who came to us, I wouldn't say like not fit or his mindset wasn't there, but someone who's just really flourished under our environment.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a really good example to see how we can fear other men when we don't know them, and we need to be able to like just be softer.
Well, to be honest, bro, that answers the question that was just mentioned a couple minutes ago. If I don't know how it's going to happen, you know, I don't know how we need to make these changes, but I don't know how it's going to happen. But that is how it's brick by brick, person by person, micro action by micro action. You know, like Jordan Peterson says it in one of my favorite books, 12 Rules for Life. He speaks about if you want to fix the world, start by cleaning your room. You know, like, how prominent is that?
It's true.
My mate Mario says a similar thing. He says, "You want to fix the world? Wash your fucking hands."
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And there's a million different variations of it. You know, like the way to have a better day is to start by making your bed and all these little things. Like it's these micro actions. And there's actually a great lyric in the song. I think it's "Growing Up" by Macklemore and Ed Sheeran. I think it's from that song. But the words are something like, "Don't try to change the world. Find something that you love and do it every day. Do that for the rest of your life, and eventually the world will change."
Yeah, wow.
And like, isn't that just
man.
perfect? Like,
It's beautiful. Yeah, man. No, 100%. And look, if we're able to get through to people individually and help them grow individually, and then I guess like anything, man, I mean, if they can give back whatever they've learned to others to help them grow, whether they've got to accept it though. It's like anything. It's like going to church, right? You go to church the first time. If you don't accept God, okay, then you're not going to go with God, right? So it's the same thing with our scenario. But even though there's no spiritual alignment, if someone comes to us, they've got to be willing to grow with us. And if they grow with us and they make a change, then they tell their mate or their mates see them. And that's the important part of this.
That's the biggest part.
That's the biggest part of this, is seeing the change in each individual that comes down. And if they can grow and people can see it, then they must say, "Hey, if he can do it, I can do it." I don't care if they come to us for that change. I don't give a rat's ass. They could go to the local gym. They can go to wherever they want to go. As long as we've had that impact for that person who's seen one of our members or who has seen me on social media, us on social media, and said, "Oh, we need to make a change here."
well, I saw it again this morning or last night. I cannot remember who it came from, but it came from someone was a biblical reference, and he used it in his terminology. He said, he says, I will preach God everywhere I go for the rest of my life, in every action and everything that I do. And when I really, really need to, I'll speak about it.
There you go.
know, and what I hear when I hear that is like, you have to show how much your life is becoming improved. You know, like there's that quote that says, you can't help someone that doesn't want to help themselves, which I've hated my whole life. I don't even accept it. Like everyone says it, and it's like, even the world around me shows me that if someone else is doing something dumb and catastrophic to themselves, I actually can't do anything about it, you know, because they have to want to help themselves. But because I didn't want to believe it, I chose to try and find anything I could. And the closest thing I could find is you can help someone that doesn't want to help themselves, and it's by being the best version of yourself.
100%.
You know, and then people can see you and be inspired by you, you know. There's been examples in my life where it's like I went on my own selfish journey of sobriety and recovery and abstinence from drugs and alcohol and even gambling and all these things. Like that was a big choice for me that I did as a selfish thing and my own journey. But just by doing so, there's been examples like quite a few times now where people have chosen to see me and be like, I might give that a go. You know what I mean? Like I might do that. That's not something that I don't give a fuck. Like I didn't do it for, you know what I mean? I did it for me, but like it's so rewarding knowing that like people are bettering themselves because of actions that I'm taking to do with me, you know? And that is how you help people. You help people by being the best version of yourself.
Do you know why? Because you found your purpose. And when guys find their purpose, particularly males, it's a crazy thing, man. And I've seen this in my own life in a major way. See, teaching for me was purposeful. But would I say that it's as I've grown old that it's the biggest thing in my life right now? No. I still wanted to educate. I still want to inspire. I still want to do all that for my kids, and I'm professional to the T. All right. I still love what I do, but is it my purpose? No. What my purpose is what I'm doing now. And when you show your true purpose to others, when you're fulfilling that purpose, others see it, and they're going to be inspired by it. Because when you have purpose as an individual, not only does it improve your life as an individual, okay, it also improves other people's lives, like you, even your relationship. My relationship, okay, got better. One, when I was vulnerable, and two, when I started fulfilling my purpose, which is what I'm doing with Kaizen Path. It got better. In our relationships, females, for example, and like we'll go back because in relationships, like it's a big factor in males' lives, right? Females don't want to see their husbands or their boyfriends sitting on the couch on their phone just scrolling through.
Yeah.
They don't want to want to see that. They'd rather you be out doing something, right? Even though sometimes they don't say it, they'd rather you be going to the gym. They'd rather you be outside gardening and all that. But if you're just sitting there and doing something that's purposeless, all right? No meaning to it. They don't like that. So when guys find their purpose, you'll be amazed how much your relationship actually improves.
I can imagine.
It is crazy, man. Like my relationship with my wife has taken me there now. And I don't know, if she'll sit next to me right now, she'll probably agree with it because she can see how happy I am, you know, with the purpose that I'm living right now. And when you have your purpose and you're able to inspire others, man, because you're passionate, you believe in what you do, all right? I mean, I don't make money from what I do, dude. Nothing, zip, nothing. So then, you know, I'm giving back, you know, in a big way. So to make change. So my wife sees that working for a charity, and she's like, "Fuck, you know, this is why I'm married."
Yeah, isn't it beautiful, bro? Because like, and to be honest, there's a great belief system that I think we are starting to understand more. That I definitely think as a society and a culture and a world we've forgotten about, but we preached it for generations before us, where you give to receive more back. You know, Quran says I think 1,000x. The Bible says give 10%, and they, for example, give 10% to church and receive so much more back. In apprenticeships, we have that saying where it's like, to become a better tradesman, give all your information to an apprentice, and then you'll become a better tradesman. And then in the world of recovery, they say you can only keep what you've got by giving it away. You know, like there's a million versions of it. And
it's true, yeah.
And things like purposeful and finding your calling and your passion is, I think we get money is a good example. We get money to try and make us happier. We get money to try and fulfill the voids and grow a better community and all these, even to better our relationships. And these are the reasons why we get money. And it does, right?
It does, yeah.
But money isn't actually the thing that is we're chasing the benefits and rewards of what money can do. So by finding a purpose that might cost you money, it might be as simple as running a podcast, investing in technology. It might be as simple as picking up a new hobby that you have to pay memberships for, or doing a charity like what you're doing. What you're getting back is the thing you always wanted in the first place, which is the happiness anyway.
That's
you know
right,
what I
that's
mean?
right.
It's nice and it's inspiring for me knowing you found your passion and your purpose, you know.
Yeah, man. I think purpose, dude. It's such a pivotal thing for most men and people and anyone in general. I I ask kids this question all the time at school because they're always stressing about, what they're going to do when they leave school, and it's always like, if you could do something for free, if you could do something that didn't pay you, right, but you do it anyway. If money wasn't an option, if the money didn't matter, what would you do? And you hear these kids think, and I had this kid come up to me this year because I had to mentor him, and I had him last year in year 10. And he came up to go, so I remember that conversation you said, that question you asked us, if money wasn't an option, what would you do that would make you happy? And he goes, so when I leave school, I want to become a pilot because that's going to be my passion. That's his purpose. That's what he wants to do. Because he figured out that if I do that, I can do it for free. But if I make money from it, it's a bonus.
Yeah.
Do you get it? And with what I'm doing, I guess with the purposeful, just changing people's lives at the same time at the end of the tunnel, man, where this takes me as an individual, I don't know. But I know that I can have an impact out there. I know that I can leave a footprint somewhere on this planet Earth, dude. Whatever that looks like, whether it's small, whether it's big, I think I've already done it. I've succeeded already, no matter what. I don't care. And that's it.
Yeah, it's beautiful, bro. I love it. There's one thing I want to kind of circle back to before we get towards the end of the episode, but we were talking about the rise in technology with AI taking over, and we spoke about social media and all these things, right? As I said to you, I've grown up with it my entire life, but being someone who's been in the world of education and teaching the younger generation for over 20 years, have you noticed the difference in time from when you first started to now, and how if there has been a shift, how have kids kind of been different? Have they, or are kids still the same as when you first started?
Nah, man, change. I asked the question the other day to kids in class. I go, do you think I had a harder life? Do you think you've had a harder life? They actually think they've had a harder life.
That is hilarious.
And they think it because I guess what they're exposed to though, what they're exposed to online with cyberbullying and all the rest, they don't realise how easy it is in terms of like information that they're able to acquire. To a degree, man. Like I mean, when I was younger, and I'll circle back as to why I think kids don't fully understand what's going on out there in terms of why it's so hard for them. When I was younger, if I wanted to learn how to train, I'd pick up a magazine. I had to read it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I learnt most things from older people and people that are around me. Okay, my brother's mates and my father and uncles and cousins and whatnot.
You hear a rumor of Arnold Schwarzenegger and you think, who's that?
And and the only thing we knew, man, was what was in front of us on a TV screen, dude. Right? And when the computers came in, I first jumped on the internet when I was 17 years old. I was in year 11, dude. And there was these shitty chat sites, right? Like, they took forever to load. They had modems. Anyway, I didn't really immerse myself in technology as a youngster, but then obviously as we got older, Facebook and all that, and knowing about everyone's fucking business, more connected now than ever before. Like, say, what I've realised now is that we are more connected, more so than ever before, but yet we're so disconnected from one another, and that's something that I guess a lot of people don't understand to a degree. These kids are so connected to their devices, and that's all they have, man. The information that they're getting from these devices, they don't realise what it's actually doing to them, how it's affecting their sleep, their behaviour patterns, what they're exposed to. I mean, you look at pornography, for example, is a major thing, all right? How we're treating women within our society because pornography is so accessible. When I was younger, if I wanted to go see something of that nature, Man, I had to climb over fucking like brick walls, man, to get to that shit.
Yeah.
All right, you have
Yeah.
no idea. I would have had to have an older brother's mate or
Yeah.
whatever that had that sort of thing.
You know, there's that cubby house in the bush that has a porno mag in it.
Yeah. Or under some tradie's truck, you know. My dad would take me to work when I was a youngster, and a tradie would pull it out and go, "Oh, look at this!" I'm like, "Oh," you know.
Yeah.
But now it's just so accessible, man.
No, it's more than accessible. It's in your face.
It's in your face.
Yeah.
And it's changing our kids big time. Is it harder? I don't necessarily think it's hard. I think it's easier for them if they use it in the right way. I tell them all the time, listen to podcasts. You have people out there who are willing to teach you things that back in the day you would have had to pay 20 grand to learn. Doctors, business people, you name it. You can learn about anything now. And we're not talking about some guy off the street. We're talking about guys who know their shit, academics in the area.
20, 30 years experience, yeah.
Learn it.
Yeah.
Learn. It's there, but they don't. They're so fixated on like shit like TikTok, making TikTok videos.
Yeah.
I don't fully understand it though, right?
Yeah.
But I guess like, you know, we're as an adult and like my father and his father, we always sometimes look down on the youth as what they're doing is stupid, and we can't be like that. We can't judge them. We need to understand it, but we also need to show them a different way. My thing is like, is if I'm the biggest example for my kids, all right, me, if I'm sitting on the couch on my phone, which I do, I'm not going to beat around the bush, which I do at times, and I scroll through. If my kid's seeing that, she's going to think that's okay. But we need to make it a habit where we put it away so our kids see us, that we're not doing that. I'm doing sit-ups or I'm doing fucking breath work in the morning. And I do that. My daughter sees me sometimes in the morning and I'm sitting there going, you know, I'm doing breath work, I'm doing something. And she films it sometimes. She goes, oh, it's just laughing. But by me showing her that I'll go for walks and I'm going to the gym, I think I show enough of myself for my kids to see that I can influence them in a positive way. And I think that's every parent's sort of responsibility, that not use social media or devices as a way to sort of manage your child, because we know what's going to happen in the end, man. They're like, these kids are going to form behaviors that you're probably not prepared for. Things like ADHD or ADD, things like anxiety, which we've already touched on since 2007. Social media has been a major player in that, you know, because how we perceive the world to be on these little devices and stuff, it's affecting us. Attention span and everything and all of the above. And if we've got these young individuals coming to our school who need to learn, right, and they're sitting in our classrooms and they can't listen to the teacher because what I'm telling them, it's not actually activating dopamine in their brain. It's not. There's no dopamine activation because they're finding it boring. But I guarantee you, if I put them in front of a computer screen or say like a game console or on their phones, they're fully engaged. Do you know what I mean? Because they're fully getting all this dopamine, these reward chemicals going through their brains, but we're getting it too much.
Yeah, definitely.
And then and that's why we're constantly going back to it, because it's feeding us. Like sometimes like on Kaizen Path on the Instagram page, because unfortunately I have to be on there. Eventually, like I'll get someone who's going to manage it for me. But like being on there all the time, when I get a new follower, I'm like, oh, I've got a new follower, bro. Like, this is mad, right? I do it with my mate, oh, we've got 5 followers today, you know? So I get really excited about that sort of stuff. But, man, like, at the end of the day, what does that even mean?
Right? It's just a game, bro. So that's all it is. We're just actively playing a game. I know that sometimes these games can affect our real world event. You know, the more people that become a part of the Kaizen Path Instagram page, and obviously the more people might actually come to them and things like this. But at the same time, it's whatever you're doing in your real world, that is the most important stuff. You're going to be spending 10 hours a day on the Kaizen Instagram page, but if you're not spending every single Sunday running the classes, then what's the point of having them Instagram page?
That's it, man. And that's why, you know, people sometimes ask me like, you know, oh, kids always ask me, so what do you do at the gym? Because I can see it. I work hard. You know, I don't fluff around. I know I've got the tools in my bag, man. I know exactly what to do when I need it. You know, I know what type of breath work I need to do when I need it. I know what I need to do in specific times when I'm not feeling the best. And this is what I'm trying to teach guys, that these tools that you have, you need to learn them. You need to know what works for you. That's what these kids need to learn. But they're too busy not thinking about those things because they're young. But they have the capability to learn, man. And like you said before, man, we need these role models within our communities, within our education system, and all the above that's going to somehow teach our youth a better way and show them a better way, whether that's through spirituality, whether that's through mentorship, I don't know, but we need more of it. It exists out there. It exists, but we need to make it more available.
Well, I think I think we spoke about it enough. It's leading by example. You know, you said it 100 times for this episode, and I've also touched on it as well. You know, it's by shining so bright as an individual, by working on yourself so prominently that everyone can't help but look at you like you're glowing and want to be like you too.
100%.
I think you're definitely doing it. It's
Thanks,
awesome
bro.
to see.
No, thank you very much.
I'll ask you my final question, all right? This is the question that I have asked every single person so far. And by the time this episode comes out, I think we're on 159. That's what episode this will be. So there's been a few answers before you, but there is no right or wrong. This is just everyone's own personal opinion, right? So I ask people, which I'm going to ask you, if someone came to you because they were feeling a bit depressed, mostly because they were just lost, is there any advice you would give that person?
I would probably say to them, I'm here for you. That's pretty much it. Because I've had people come to me with that exact same thing, man. And the last thing they want to hear is go see a psychologist. It's the last thing. They need to know that you're empathic, that you can see yourselves, that you can be in their shoes and feel that what they're feeling without the sympathy. People don't like sympathy. They like empathy. We need to be more empathic and compassionate. Okay, I'm here for you. That's exactly what I would say to them, and I'd be there for them, as good as I can be.
That's a perfect answer, because if I was to put myself in that scenario, that'd be the best thing I'd want to hear. You know, I'm actually okay with things like I've had psychologists and I've had counselors and I've had mentors and I've had all these things for my entire life. Whenever I'm feeling like I need one, I'll go get one, right? However, if I'm opening up to someone in my real world about it, I don't want him to tell me to go speak to someone else. I want to speak to you, bro. You know, yeah. So I'm here for you is actually a perfect way to answer that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I'll tell you what, it was a perfect way to wrap up a perfect episode. I've absolutely loved sitting down and having this conversation with you today.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it goes pretty quick. It's like been over 2 hours, so it goes faster than we think.
2 hours.
Yeah.
My wife's going to wonder where I am, mate.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's tracking me.
Got that life 360 yard, eh?
Just said that in Hawkesbury. Like, what the fuck? Whose house is that?
Yeah.
Podcast.
It's awesome, bro. Well, I'll tell you what, I definitely want to come experience what it's like to be a part of these groups. I definitely just want to dip my toes in, say my hellos, and just show my support more than anything. You know, I think it'd be really cool. So whether it be tomorrow or another Sunday, whenever we can do it, let's try and work that out. Because I think what you're doing is important, which is the most important thing to me. You know, it's not just fun, entertaining, interactive. I love these things, but what you're doing is important. So
I would love to have you, man, and anyone else that's out there, guys. You know, like at the end of the day, if you want to try something different, get out of your comfort zone, even if you come down once, it doesn't really matter. Know that we're there for you. The boys are there for you. It's not just me, it's the boys. And collectively, man, we can support you all. You know, we do our best when you come down, and that's it.
Yeah, mad. Well, it's awesome, bro. Well, thank you very much. It's been an amazing episode.
Thanks,
man. Yeah, gang. For everyone listening, thank you as well for making it to the end of the episode. It was an amazing week this week, as you just seen. There'll be another one next week, I promise. That's it.
You like that one?